Welcome to part 2 of the growl and drums tutorial here in Cardinal. In this video, we are going to go over how all the routing to do with this sampler that just loads up like one-shots, and it's a quick and easy way to get like a backing track or just any sort of custom drums that you want with a step sequencer in it, and how to route it and do some kind of cool stuff, some panning with an LFO, and get some random patterns going on with the sample and hold and through a compressor. So if you missed part 1, I showed you guys how to do like a formant growl. It sounds like this. Let me just unmute this and I'll just give you a quick preview just in case you want to check out part 1 of the video. Sounds pretty cool. So check out part 1. I'll leave the description, or I'll leave the link to it in the description for part 1. So let's go ahead and get started with patching all this stuff. I'm just going to leave this stuff plugged in, but I'm just going to recreate it right above here. So I'm going to unplug this and just use this as the out. If you need the Cardinal audio host, you could always right-click something if you don't know what the company that made it. So it's distro right here. So if you're looking for it, right-click, and then you can go to brand, and then go down to distro, and then there is the that's the MIDI. Here's the audio host right here. Now, if you notice that these are red, that's because you can like re-click it. Say if you like this one, you can just click it and then go to favorite, and now it's red. If you don't want it, you could just go down to the favorite again and unfavorite. So just select the Cardinal host. Okay, so now we need to have a clock, because that is going to it's going to tell us how fast the tempo is going to be. So we go to tags, go down to clock generator. And then there's one right here called Clocked from Impromptu. This is a good one. So right click and then now go to the tags and go to Sampler. So just scroll down till it says Sampler right here. And then so we're going to use this one right here by Voxglitch. This is actually a really good one. I like it. Really easy to use, and there's a lot of cool stuff, features in it. It can be a bit tedious and stuff, but you could pretty much do anything you want in it as far as like a sampler goes. So we have this, and let's just focus on this for right now, and then we'll get into some other stuff. So right now we want to take the clock. Now I read the manual for this, and I was wondering why it says times 32 on here, and that's because it has this ratchet feature, which I'll get to here in a little bit. But so when you put in your clock, take the clock 1 and put it into here. Now you got to take this dial and times it by 32. And once it's at 32, you can get the true BPM right here. So right now it's at 120. I'm going to drop it to 95 is fine. Now take the reset right here and put it into the reset right here. Now what that's going to do is, if you hit this button right here, the reset button, so you notice every time I hit it, it jumps to the beginning. That's so you can if you got multiple things kind of going on and they're going at different times, you just hit the reset and they both start at the same time, so they're going in sync. Now let's just plug this in for right now, right into the right, left into the left. So this is just a straight out. It's going to have all the channels, but if you want to hook up the individual channels, there's 8 channels in total, 8 slots right here. You could do that, and that's what we're going to do here in a little bit. But for right now, just to go over some of the basic functions, I'm just going to go straight into the out. So to load up a sample, you double click on here, and then I can just go into like music, drum kits. If wherever you keep your drum kits or whatever, you just go to do, doesn't matter. I'm just going to load up a sample. So here is your sample will show up right here, And with this selected, this means that this step sequencer is now using this sample. So every time you put one on here, it's going to trigger. There you go. You probably didn't hear that. I probably didn't pick a good sample for that. You might, especially if you're on your phone. Let's just use a hi-hat, man. Whatever. Whoops. Let's see this. Okay, now we got some volume on here. Let's turn the master volume up on here so you guys could hear it. We could also turn this up. So just see, it's just a step sequencer, and you could just load up everything right here. If you want a different pattern, say you made a pattern with this and you want the next one, you could just go here, and then now you got a totally different pattern. So if this is like A1, this would be like A2, A3, A4, wherever you want to name it, or 1, 2, 3, 4, pattern number 4. It's I guess they name it memory slot number 4. So this is for everything. So actually what I'm going to do, because it'd be tedious to load up a bunch of stuff for this tutorial, and this is just another function on it, you can right click, and then you can go to presets, where you can save a preset. So if you make something custom, you can save it. So I'm going to go to open, and oh man, where did I keep this? Might be in Reason, Cardinal patches. There he is. Voxglitch Groovebox, and then I did a little virtual riot thing. So open. Okay, so this is the one that I made. I load up just kick, snare, hat, wood block, and awe sample that they use for like scratching on turntables and stuff. So anyways, all these have the pattern. So right here, it's on kick. So every time this blue thing is triggered, the kick hits. This is the snare. These are the hi-hats, wood block. And then I have a different pattern for each one. And we're going to get to that here in just a little bit on why I did that. And that comes along with the sample and hold thing that I showed you earlier. And we'll get to that. But I want to go over some of the basic functions right now. So I loaded up just kind of different stuff. Just different patterns. Mainly the same, but they're different. And that was for a reason. So let's just go to an empty slot. So there's nothing going on here. And I'm going to use this hi-hat to show you some of the functions on here. So I'm going to, if you double click any of the parameters in Cardinal, it'll go back to factory settings, which I love, man. I don't like it when they're like, oh, you got to hit control click to get back to factory settings. It's like, man, why would you do that? Just double click, man. It just works too good to do that. So say if we like this, you know what? I'm getting sick of this, of turning this volume down. I want the mute. What we're going to do is route it through a mixer real quick. So go to mixer. And there's a good one here by AS, 8 channel. I'm just going to run this. Oh, wait, up here. Left, right, left out, right out. Now I can just hit this button and it'll mute the entire thing. Okay. So say I like this pattern right here. This has all the different things on it, whatever. And I want it in a different slot, but I want to just slightly change it. Say this is the one I like, so highlight the one you like, hit copy. Now go to this one, an empty slot, and just hit paste. Now it's in there. So now you have the same pattern as this one as slot number 1. You can go down to slot 13, which you just pasted in, and you could just, slightly modify it. Just be like, okay, well, I want a hat on every other step. So now you have the original one and then just this, and if you just wanted to do the hi-hats, that was a super quick and easy way to get that same pattern, but just make it slightly different. So you don't have to just recreate patterns. So that's with the copy and paste. So now we can get down to these functions right here. Let's just use the hi-hat for these. Now, a lot of them are pretty self-explanatory, but let's just open up a slot right here. Like volume, obviously that makes it louder or softer. Panning will pan to the left or to the right, and you have to have stereo for that to work, for the panning. If you just route like this or something, like one of the channels, like the left channel, if you pan to the left, you can hear it, but if you pan to the right, you won't hear anything. So you have to be careful on how you do your routing on that. So the pitch, I really like the pitch because let's just do a wood block for the pitch. So here's it regular, just that, and if you turn it up, sorry, I'm doing the volume, and I'm glad that I did that because you have to have the thing that's highlighted. So now the pitch is highlighted, I can turn it up, or we can turn it down. It's a cool way to get different tones on there. Just turn that off. Ratchet is very interesting. What I'm going to do with ratchet, I'm going to use a hi-hat on this, and I'm going to go to ratchet and then turn it up. Now watch what it does. It shows a little pattern. See, when I bring it up, it selects the different things. And I think the higher you go, the more little repeats it does. It's almost like a super, super fast delay. But it just does it, I believe, it's just different patterns that you do. And I think the blue, the dark blue means a harder hit, and then the more gray it is, the lighter the next thing is. So if we go to the first one, there's nothing. It just hits 1. And this, 2. And then so on. Just gets more. So that's ratchet. Probability is actually really cool. So instead of using a bunch of different patterns, you can use the probability to create different patterns, but it's up to the probability to determine what will hit and what won't. So we're going to do the hi-hat again, and we're going to turn the probability down on it. Now, there's a chance that this might not hit now. So it's hitting now. Okay, well, let's see here. Eventually it's not going to. Alright, screw this. I'm turning it down more. There we go. See how these two didn't hit? This thing should eventually trigger. Come on now. There we go. See, it's a probability, it's a percentage on, am I going to play or am I not going to play? And do you understand what's going on with that? How much different types of patterns you can get? It's up to the probability on whether certain things are going to hit or not, which gives you just tons of different drum patterns. If you bring the probabilities on stuff, like sometimes that second kick might not hit or something, or sometimes the hi-hat, certain hi-hats won't hit, and it's just tons and tons of different patterns you can get while all just remaining on one memory slot. So that's probability. And then the more down you bring it, the less likely it is this is going to hit. But if we bring it up more, it'll pretty much hit on every one, but every once in a while it'll skip it. So that's just something to kind of play around with on the probability. Delay, it's just a simple delay. So the more that you bring it up, the more of a kind of the mix that you get into it. So with this, the delay length, if you bring it up, it's the spaces in between the the delays. If you bring it here, it's faster. See, it's almost like a ratchet effect. Or you bring it down really low. See, it's kind of weird, almost you get a warping sound. So the feedback, let's bring the delay to kind of a decent thing. That's good. Now check the feedback out. You can make it go super long. See, the more you bring it up, the longer the delay is. So I'm going to bring this back to without delay. So with the bottom things on here, this works better for like a sample, not just something super small like this. So with this, I'm going to use the ah sample, and it sounds like this. Okay. So with the attack, that's just it's an amplitude envelope attack. So just like as you would put attack, it would fade the sound in. Let's do this again. Let's fade this in. Attack. Interesting. Let's bring it down to factory. Sounds the same. Weird. Let's try the release. See what that does. Let's bring the release down. Okay. This seems to be working. The attack. Even though it's a straightforward thing, it's amplitude envelope attack, and I explained it perfectly. So it's weird that it almost didn't seem to work. I want to try it again one more time. Very interesting. Okay, let's go to loop. Screw this. I don't want to deal with this attack anymore. Loop. This can be pretty crazy. So if we loop this, turn it up. Sometimes it just keeps on going. So what we're going to do is just turn it up a tiny bit, see what it does. Oh, okay, that's out of control. Let's bring it up higher and see what it does. Okay, so it's just looping it at different intervals on there. Okay, I'm done with that. Reverse. Just reverses the thing. Okay. So with the start and stop, you could choose when to start it and when to stop it. So right here, it actually gives you a visual cue. See? Or if you want to do the end part of it, whoops, you can choose when to end it. Right there. So that's the basic functions of the sampler. The last thing right here is the memory. And to showcase this, we need to have some voltage going in here. It's in the thing it says you could use 1 through 10 volts. So to control this, and what it's gonna do is it's gonna choose different slots to go in. So we want to do an LFO. LFO, where are you? Low frequency oscillator. And this is a good one down here, VCB. LFO, and then we want to do go to tags, sample and hold. And there's one. Where are you? There you are. ML modules. Sample and hold. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the clock. That's going to go to the trigger. I think. Should. How come the clock isn't triggering it? Oh, maybe we got to use this. That's going to trigger. We can just use a sine wave. No, we'll do a square wave. We want a square wave because a square wave's just like a trigger. It's either on or off with the square wave. And then we're going to go out into the memory on here. See what it's doing now? It's kind of bouncing around. But it's too fast. To slow it down, you can take the frequency and we're going to drop it down. So now it's going to wait a little bit before it switches patterns. So here you can just control it with the frequency of this, and depending on how fast or how slow you have it, it'll start bouncing around to different patterns. So let's actually turn this up so it speeds it up a bit, and then this should start going to the different patterns. There we go. So just use the frequency on the speed that you want it to bounce around to the different things. So let's just leave that. I'm going to turn it down a bit just so it doesn't bounce around so much. And then I'm going to start routing things through the actual channel here. Now I'm going to unplug this. Now I'm going to plug each one in here. So the first one's the kick. So I want that mono. We're going to put that in here. I'm going to have basically everything mono except... Yeah, I'm going to just have everything mono. It doesn't matter, man. Let's just route everything. Okay, so 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 is the wood block. Now, I want my wood block to actually have a reverb on here. Let's plug in the real quick. So 4 is that. So 5 would go to right here. So I'm going to right click here, and I'm going to route this through a reverb. So go to tags, and then go to reverb. Plateau is a good one by Valley. So we could take 4, bring it into here to the left, and then the left out into there. So let's just have a listen. I'm going to mute this stuff. And we can, wood block. Okay, so, that's muted. See, now we got a nice clean reverb. But if we didn't use the reverb, just sound like that. Ding, ding. So it makes it a lot cooler if that's something that you're really interested in, but it's pretty big. So we're going to turn down the wetness. The decay is the length of it, and the size is obviously like big room, small room. So this is good. Bit loud, so we can turn it down. I'm just going to mute everything. So that's how you can route one of the drums into an effect that you want. Now I'm going to just unmute this stuff. So we have just our basic beat. But I want the hi-hats to kind of dance around. So what I'm going to do is take an LFO. So right click and then just go to the LFOs again. Frequency oscillator. And we can use the same one that we did before. Do the LFO. And you can plug the sine wave into here. See, it's how it says pan control voltage. So we want to plug it into number 3 because that's our hi-hats. So right here, we want to plug it in to 3, right there. Now, I want this to be controlled by this clock because if this will sync it with the BPM on here. So just route this into the clock. You could even do the reset too. So everything's synced and then just reset it. Remember, just click the button to reset it. Now this is synced and that's synced. Now And you have to be listening through like headphones or something with stereo, or you're not going to hear this thing panning. And I'm just going to mute everything except for the hi-hats now, and we can take a listen. It seems to be a little bit off, so I'm going to turn this down, turn the offset off. There we go. Now it's kind of just bouncing back and forth. You can actually see it on here. You can see it bouncing back and forth. Switch the... Oh yeah, we can't switch the thing because this is controlling it. No, I'm sick of this memory thing. Let's just choose this. And you can see how the LFO is making it bounce around. And you can use different... what's it called? Different waves to do it. A square actually might be decent too. So I unplugged it and see now it's both going at the same time, but if we do the square, it's bouncing around. Yeah. It's, just play around with the speed and stuff like that. Eventually you get it to sound decent. So I'm going to plug the sine wave back in. And that's fine with me. Finally, we're going to route this through a compressor. So let's go to compressor. And this is a decent one. It's visual. We could plug left in, left in, right in, and then left out, right out. So, with this, I would say just use it by ear. I don't really, like for the threshold, it's like the speed, even though you see that pink thing going down, that's visual you can use because you can see where the actual compressor is going to start triggering at what decibel level. But everything else is kind of difficult for me to kind of explain. I don't even really know what's going on. It just has the speed in which the attack is. This must be milliseconds right here. Threshold's interesting because it also is labeled in speed, but at least you get this little visual thing right here. So I'm just going to... So the threshold, just really quick, if you don't know about a compressor, in gain, that's just the audio going into here. So you can set that to how loud you want it to go in. And then the threshold is at what decibel level do you want... Man, why is my mouse freaking out? Okay. The threshold level is at what decibel level do you want this compressor to start working. Ratio is how many decibels you want to go. It's a ratio thing. So like a 2-to-1, every 2 decibels that's getting compressed, only 1 decibel is let out. So that's what the ratio is. Attack is how fast you want the compressor to start working. If you want the transients to get to be let through, and then you want just the other part of your audio to get squished down and compressed, then have kind of a slower attack, and that lets the first part of the audio be uncompressed while the latter half gets compressed. But if you want the whole thing, just have a fast attack, and the release is how fast you want the compressor to release after it's doing its thing. So let's just play around with this. What is going on, man? My mouse is messing up. I knew something was going to happen. Something always happens, man. I'm unplugging it. I don't care about nothing. Alright, I'll plug it back in, see if that fixes it. I don't know, we'll see. Nah, it's messing up. So let's just say that you got what you wanted on here. Come on, man. You can use that out. Okay, I'm turning this off. I'll just use my keyboard thing. Never mind, the whole thing's screwed up. Turn the output gain on at the very end to so you can bring up the audio that has been squished down, and that kind of levels out the levels. So I'm done with this, man. I'm sick of this thing screwing up. All right, hope you enjoyed this. See ya.